Volkswagen's attempt to become a major player in the automobile green space through unethical practices led to a stain in its reputation. If you look at all stakeholders, rights were violated across various groups: the employees, manufacturers, consumers, and the stakeholders and the shareholders. I will focus on the rights of the primary stakeholder, the shareholder. The Volkswagen CEO, Martin Wicherkon, knowingly withheld information that may have limited investors from investing in VW. He did not give the shareholders the opportunity to make sound decisions with all of the facts. During this time, when going green and protecting the environment was a top investment pick, Volkswagen was like a sheep in wolf's clothing. The favorable investments that they received were made based upon the claims of being environmentally safe. Shareholders inadvertently lost the right to be knowledgeable of their investment. They lost the right to hear issues that may impact earnings and company reputation. And they lost the right to bring solutions that could have helped circumvent some of the negative press that was received. In short, the shareholders supported a product that was ultimately not a leader in its field, and they lost money due to their lack of corporate integrity and ethical behavior of Volkswagen. I think a comparison can be made as primary stakeholders' rights decline. A decline is seen in the company's corporate social responsibility and ethics activity. I've made a little equation here. The violation of rights equals lower CSR plus lower ethical behavior. I was drawn to a scripture, 2 Corinthians 8:21, which in short lets us know that we should be doing honest things, not only in the sight of the Lord, but also in the sight of men. And in short, Volkswagen did not honor this key tenet in the Bible. As a premier company in Europe known for its core competencies, Volkswagen has a duty to build a vehicle that keeps the consumer safe. When the emissions test results showed signs of decline, it was VW's duty to share the information and provide corrective action based on their responsibility to the consumers. According to Kant's ethical theory, which is deontological in nature, Volkswagen had a duty to deliver a safe product. According to the case, when the CEO and executives were made aware of the testing results and the reporting, they created a task force to conceal the truth and appear compliant. VW does not have a perceived duty to humanity. If Volkswagen had taken a morally right position to address the emissions concerns, it would have created a slowdown in sales to consumers buying green for the economy. Choosing the morally correct path could have helped protect VW's reputation, spared them from the drastic legal ramifications of indictments and investors suing the corporation. We know that in Kant's theory, the moral actions are those done from duty, not merely in accordance with duty. And then we also know that his theory is that your duty should be withheld, and it's not the outcomes that you're seeking. And in this case, I believe that Volkswagen was seeking the financial benefits of saying that they're green when truly they were not. In this case, in my opinion, they put the profits over people and nature versus putting people and nature, which is their duty, over profits.
So, if we talk in point of utilitarianism, which is entirely based on the idea of greatest good for the greatest number, it means that the action is considered ethical if it benefits most people and reduces harm overall. So, when we apply this idea to the Volkswagen scandal, it is clear that the company actions did not produce the greatest good for the greatest number. So Volkswagen, they did deliberately install the software devices known as the defeat devices in millions of diesel vehicles, and this software made cars appear clean and eco-friendly during the official testing, like in the lab testing, but not on the real roads. So they released far more harmful emissions than allowed in the United States. So for a shorter term, this decision worked in Volkswagen favor. The company gained a strong image as a green, innovative brand, and its sales and profits increased, and its market value also grew. A small group of executives as well as the shareholders got benefited, and Volkswagen just framed themselves as one of the biggest, largest car makers. However, when we look in the bigger picture, the harm caused by this deception was so enormous. So millions of customers were lied, and they were in a feeling that they bought cars believing they were helping the environment, when in reality they were doing the opposite. So the company's action damaged the public trust not only in Volkswagen but in the entire car industry. So honest competitors suffered as people began doubting whether other car makers were also cheating. So beyond that, the extra emissions hurt the communities and the environment, and affecting people's quality of life as well. And from the case study, it's so evident that the government had also spent a lot of money and time investigating the company, dealing with the legal claims and enforcing a new regulation. So if we weigh the overall outcome, the Volkswagen behavior was clearly caused far more harm than the good. So from the utilitarian perspective, that makes the this makes the decision unethical, and the temporary profit gained by the few individuals cannot justify the widespread harm that they've done to the millions of people and to the company's own reputation. And also, to be honest, like true utilitarian thinking would have led the Volkswagen to invest in a real innovation and building genuinely cleaner cars and contribute to the long-term social benefit. So if we talk in terms of care ethics, so care ethics entirely focus on relationships, empathy, and moral responsibility towards others, and it asks a simple but most important question, like how do my actions affect the people who trust me? So Volkswagen, in this perspective, Volkswagen failed this test completely. So the company showed little care for its customers, employees, and the society. So by lying to the customers, they broke their trust, and many people chose Volkswagen cars because they believed the company was responsible and environmentally conscious. And these customers felt betrayed when the truth came out. And inside the company, employers were also placed in some kind of difficult position. So some workers who discovered their wrongdoing had to had to stay silent out of fear for their jobs. And this shows that Volkswagen's internal culture valued performance and obedience more than the honesty and moral courage. And there was no space for the people to speak up about what was right. And if we look at the in a broader level, the company ignored its responsibility to society. So its decisions showed a lack of care for communities affected by pollution and for the environment that the future generations will depend on. And care ethics teaches that each and every organization, irrespective if it's a big or a small organization, especially one as large as Volkswagen, has a duty to act with compassion and respect for the people who are impacted by its own choices. And further actions such as like recalling vehicles, offering compensation, and promoting electrical cars were just an attempts to repair its damage, but it's not the real care. So while those steps were necessary, they were too late. So true care means preventing harm before it happens, not trying to fix it as a afterward. So real ethical leadership would have involved being transparent from the beginning and owning up to mistakes and valuing people over profit. So on a whole, So from the utilitarian view, the Volkswagen decisions harmed more people than they helped, and the company prioritized profits and market success over public welfare, and leading to the widespread damage to the customers, society, and even the environment, of course. And from the care ethics view, the company failed in its own moral duty to care for those who trusted it, and it acted with deceit instead of empathy, silence instead of honesty, and profit instead of responsibility. So the main lesson from this case study is that the ethical behavior must guide business decisions from the inside out. So a company can have great technology, marketing, and leadership innovation, but if it lacks like moral values, it can lose everything overnight.
The culture of Volkswagen can be viewed in two different ways, from the inside and from the outside. From the outside, Volkswagen was outspoken on being the most environmentally sustainable vehicle manufacturer in the industry. However, after taking a look at the internal organizational culture, it starts to become evident that the image Volkswagen wanted people to see was untrue. The internal culture at Volkswagen was an image and success-focused, high-pressure, and largely unethical culture. This demanding focus on image and success created an intense internal pressure to maintain its status as a leader in eco-friendly vehicle manufacturing. The company's structure was highly centralized under management, with former CEO Martin Winterkorn having the final say over decisions. This hierarchical structure discouraged open communication and honesty. This meant employees and managers worked to protect the company's image rather than reveal the true problems. Group dynamics also contributed to this ethical dilemma. Volkswagen employees cooperated in concealing the deception and even creating a task force to manage inquiries focusing on hiding the truth while appearing compliant. This demonstrates an organizational groupthink dilemma, where loyalty to the company and fear of consequences outweighs ethical judgment. Corporate politics further deepened the problems. For example, when Winterkorn and other executives became aware of the fraud, they chose to continue the cover-up to avoid damage to their personal reputations and the reputation of Volkswagen as a whole. This can also be linked to management's attempt to maintain the company's financial standing. The result was a culture in which success and control mattered more than integrity, allowing unethical decisions to spread throughout the organization. This eventually leads to consequences such as large fines and, in some cases, jail time. The ethical dilemma of Volkswagen highlights the importance of leadership setting the tone for ethical behavior within an organization. The dilemma shows that the CEO and other senior managers were aware of the company's unethical behavior but chose to hide it rather than report it. A road to recovery in this case has to start at the top. This lack of ethical leadership created an unethical culture. In order to prevent such a horrible dilemma, management must focus on the importance of ethics by leading via example and holding themselves accountable to the same values expected of the employees. When leaders openly emphasize the importance of strong moral values, they set a standard for ethical decision-making across all levels of the company. A strong ethical culture begins at the top, and Volkswagen's experience demonstrates the severe consequences that occur when leaders fail to model ethical behavior. In addition to leadership improvements, Volkswagen must rework its company values and practices to align with ethical standards. The ethical dilemma reveals that Volkswagen's focus on sustainability was overshadowed by its willingness to cheat the data and deceive shareholders and consumers. This disconnect between stated values and actual behavior created a culture of moral muteness, where employees and executives remained silent about unethical actions. To restore trust, Volkswagen should implement clear procedures that support ethical decision-making and encourage internal, open communication about wrongdoings. Removing a culture of silence means creating safe and secure resources for reporting misconduct. Rewarding honesty as opposed to turning a blind eye to unethical activities will allow members of the organization to feel comfortable when speaking up. By ensuring that its practices truly reflect its stated commitment to integrity, Volkswagen can rebuild a culture grounded in accountability and moral responsibility. Over time, this recovery strategy will allow the organization to heal internally while also repairing the damage that's been done to its reputation.